podcast. Today we have Natasha, who's here to share her stories, her journey with us. Now, I'm putting a trigger warning on this video today for some context that might upset people. So just bear that in mind. And we will let Natasha introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Natasha. It's nice to meet you all. I am an addict and I'm a gambling and an alcohol addict. And it's nice to meet you all.
Okay, so Natasha reached out to me actually initially when I first relapsed about 90 plus days ago when my son was kidnapped, and she showed some support to me then. And she was just a stranger. I presume one of my videos hit her feed, and it was nice for her to reach out to me at that point. Since then, we've obviously exchanged a few messages, and Natasha come forward after me putting a post on Facebook asking for women to come forward. It seems like loads of men keep coming forward, but not many women want to speak. And, I understand it. It's a big thing to do, a very brave thing to do. So thank you, Natasha. Do you want to give a bit of an introduction about where your life was, your childhood, where things started to experiment with alcohol, and, tell a little bit of a story. What I'll do throughout whilst you're speaking is at times I will just pause you for a second. I'll probably just overtalk you and just cut in and I'll wait for a pause when you're talking, but I'll just to go into things of what you're saying, just to get a bit more of an understanding, and to also maybe share back some stories I've got. And I hope that makes sense. So go ahead.
So to start off, I had quite a traumatic childhood. Yeah. My mum and dad were lovely people, so it wasn't them. I was bullied a lot because of my autism. And then in my early teens, I was abused for 2 years in lots of ways. So I started drinking. I started kind of like experimenting with drink when I was 15. And I would just get really drunk. I noticed that everything, so I'm holding my little squishy, like everything would kind of like go away. All the pain, all the kind of like anxiety that I held inside myself would go. Yeah. And so at 15 was kind of when it all clicked into place, where alcohol was the answer to my prayers, really, which I know it's not the right thing now looking back.
Yeah.
So it kind of started at 15 for me. And obviously, I will say my family don't know this really. So this is probably, I'm going to have to say to them, well, this is it. I just haven't felt like I've been able to open up because it's quite a stigmatizing, raw thing to say. And it wasn't their fault, so I was like, I don't want them to feel like it was their fault, because it's not.
So Natasha, I can relate to this in a different way. But my childhood growing up, I was actually brought up, and I had a really good upbringing. I'm from a really wealthy family. We were spoiled as kids. I'm one of three. I had two younger sisters. I'm the eldest, and my mum and dad, and once again, it's not something I've ever really spoken about. And my mum and dad had quite a volatile relationship where it was quite violent. And back in them days when I was younger, you were supposed to just keep quiet. Like when we said, just be quiet, don't tell anybody. So I used to just keep this all to myself, and it got to a point where this is, now I look back and I've done work on myself. I now know that this was my coping mechanisms. Maybe not so much with the alcohol, but certainly with the weed and I suppose little bits of alcohol at a young age as well, because I was just a little child. And I remember a significant day where my dad had pinned my mum up against the wall. She'd got blood bleeding out of her nose. And I went to go ring 999 from the phone. I think I was only like 5 or 6. And it was when the phones were attached to the wall. And he ragged the fucking wire out the wall. And I remember this day like yesterday, and it was I generally hold on to this this stigma as such, this resent against why he was like that, and I've never actually ever got answers because he passed away suddenly 13 years ago. So carry on with your journey.
So Firstly, I'm so sorry. It's actually broken my heart hearing that. Like, I'm trying not to cry. For me as well, I won't go into it because obviously I don't want to post like my family's personal stuff like online for all and sundry. But my mom, sadly, she passed away a couple of years ago. She had mental health, so I often was kind of like a carer, almost a parent sometimes to her. So that also impacted my own mental health. Obviously, I can't go into any much more than that because
you don't need to. You know, you got as much as you want. This is about you speaking and sharing your opinion.
I found that because of the bullying, the trauma, and further trauma that I've not yet kind of said about, I turned to the alcohol, and it embraced me. And that sounds really wrong. But yeah.
It doesn't sound wrong. And, you know, like, this is the way we deal with things. And like I've just explained, like, this is the way. I have done that all of my life, you know, because from being a child to then my dad passing away, like, late in my 20s, like, he left me with some, like, things that before his death, like, he must have known he was going to die 5 days before, then he died. It was just me and him. He left me with some responsibilities, and I was just not able to deal with them. And, you know, so I turned even worse, you know, and I was dealing with things in the complete wrong way, you know, like, you've just lost your parent, and, you know, your parent want you to be strong, you know, but we're out there and we're just fucking poisoning our bodies. And, you know, I was on the cocaine so bad. I was spending £150 a day, and I feel like it's gone on for a decade at least, you know, with maybe like out of every month a couple of days like where I was clean, and that's probably only because I'd run out of money. It wasn't because out of choice. Do you know what I mean? So I understand, you know, using things to block it away, because I am right. You are right in saying it does momentarily block that pain out, you know, and it makes it okay for that moment. In my case, it just used to make me so spangled, I didn't even know what day of the week it was, that I didn't think about fucking anything. Do you know? And it was, you know, once my health started deteriorating, when I actually realised that, you know, I'd got to challenge his behaviour, otherwise it was going to be me in the ground after him. So I'll let you continue.
So after 15, this is like kind of in my story arc of how alcohol kind of became more intertwined like with my life.
Yeah.
After 15, I got into a really abusive relationship at 19 to someone who was much older than me. And it was a DV relationship. Ended when I was 24, and I escaped that. And during that time, there was only a handful of times that I got drunk, purely because my life was so tightly controlled. I just didn't have the space. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I'm just listening.
So when that finished, I entered a period where it was relatively healthy in my life, but every time I went out with my then partner, in a new relationship, I'd get drunk. Like, if we'd go to a restaurant, I'd drink. Like, I noticed I'd just, like, drink. I'd just, at nearly every kind of meal, with some exceptions, I'd just be tipsy or drunk. And I noticed that everyone seemed to really like me. Like, everybody really liked me when I was drunk. I was funny, I was effervescent, I was bubbly, all the kind of characteristics I wanted to have when I was, like,
younger.
Sober, because and younger.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, when I was younger, because I always felt like I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
Like, I was never going to be good enough, because I was always that weird autistic kid in the corner. I was that quiet little girl, not knowing how to interact with people. And so the drink kind of opened up this world of possibilities. Where I could be almost like an alter ego of myself,
100%,
like the ideal version. So for me, then alcohol became a crutch. This is when the problem really started to deepen, is when I found out my mom had a terminal condition in her lungs. It's called ILD, I can't really describe what it is because it's like technical, but basically her lungs weren't working properly.
Okay.
I went to the nearest Spoonies and I got 3 shots. Bang, bang, bang. I was like, you know what, I can't cope. And I was on the way to see my mom. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to just have some alcohol, you know, to calm myself. And I thought, what are you doing? Like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
And then it just got worse. It went from shots to bottles.
As in bottles of spirits or bottles of wine? Bottles of spirits?
So it went from shots of, well, my favourite was the apple sours. So it went from shots of apple sours to me being able to drink a bottle and a half of apple sours. And then it went from apple sours to rum. And then, yeah, it got to the point where I could keep up with my boy mates. Yeah. And that's not something you should aspire to do.
No, because men are naturally a lot bigger.
Not exactly a brag. Not exactly a brag to be able to keep up with your lads.
No.
You know. But it got to the point where then my mum was so poorly, she was in and out of hospital. And I lost control and she passed away really suddenly. She had a fall at home and ended up getting sepsis and passing away right back within days of me having last seen her. And it really opened my eyes to like the fragility of life. And at the same time, I also was pregnant. I had a miscarriage like shortly after my mum passed away. I didn't realise I was pregnant, found out literally 2 days afterwards, and it was like an early loss that I had.
How many years ago is this?
It was 2022, so 3 years this year.
So it's quite recent, really. It must be still quite raw.
Yeah, it's something that haunts me, to be honest.
I can imagine, and you know, my son is my everything, you know, and like I can't even process how that would ever feel, especially at the same time losing a parent. Go on, no, you're right.
What I thought was going to be really a happier kind of transition, it ended like that. And then the next month after, I was pregnant with my son, Nathaniel.
Okay.
And obviously I cut all the drinking, I cut shit. Sorry, pardon my French, I do apologise.
No, you're right, don't worry, I swear loads.
I cut all the bullshit. I just thought, that's it. I'm done. I'm not gonna fuck this up. I did everything by the book. I did all the prenatals, all the vitamins, everything you could chuck at someone who was pregnant. I did it. Yeah. Unfortunately, 6 months after losing my mum, I lost my baby boy to stillbirth. 6 months old. And after losing him, I went off the it. You know,
I think I would
I'm really
too.
lucky that I did have, and I do still have, a good support network in my family.
Yeah.
And also my friends. Like, my friends are wonderful. But my ex-partner and I, we just went off the rails. And yeah, it just went crazy for quite a while. And in the end, I quit drinking. I remember the date was the 28th of November, 2023. And his birthday, my son Nathaniel's birthday, 29th of April.
Okay.
So it was, I'd say, a good 4 months of just,
abuse.
And it wasn't like, the way I describe it is when people say to me, oh, Tasha, you weren't an alcoholic. You never had like this problem. And I'm like, yeah, because A, I hid it, and B, you know, it wasn't a daily thing for me. Like, it wasn't necking back. I didn't have like a pint glass of vodka and just casually sipping it like daily.
No.
It was when I drank, and when I was drunk, I was absolutely wankered to the point where I'd pass out. Yeah. And I never had that off button where I could just have the one drink. Yeah. And that'd be it.
No, me neither.
yeah. If I drank, like I drank. Sorry, I probably waffled on a bit too much.
That's what I want you to do. You know, because like, what we do is because you know it's like learned behaviour, and you talked about you start drinking from so young with as a coping mechanism. Like we don't really know any other way, do we? Do you know, like, and I suppose we don't really want to learn any other ways. I certainly didn't. You know, people would offer their support, and I'd be like, I just fucking get it to go through one ear and out the other, because I knew like that this was my healing as such. When really and truly it was. It wasn't, was it? So, do you mind me asking, how did you? So, you talk about was it 2023 you went sober?
Yeah.
What was the point in in your life at that point? Like, I know obviously you've talked about the tragedy of losing your son to stillbirth, you losing your mum. Is it at that point? Obviously, you talk about 3 months after that, you was just a mess.
You'd think it was, but it actually wasn't. That wasn't the turning point for me.
It wasn't.
No, I would have thought it would have been, but I've been thinking about it recently, and for me, it was actually seeing the effect that alcohol had on my friends and the people I loved the most. And I've already asked my ex if I could like say a few bits, and he was fine with it. So it was seeing the effect it had on my ex that actually woke my eyes up to how I was being. Like seeing it, how it just can change people, and we don't see it ourselves, but everyone else can see it. And I thought, you know what, I'm fed up of this. I'm fed up of A, having to deal with other people drinking, and B, I'm fed up of me having a hangover, because hangovers are the worst.
Yeah, right.
I'm fed up of putting myself in like stupid situations where ordinarily I wouldn't ever dream of putting myself in them. And D, I need to get healthy, because I looked at myself in the mirror and I was puffy. And I was like, this isn't the Tash that I know. Like, this is just, I couldn't recognise myself.
No.
And I was like, you know what? This has to change. And that was the day when I decided, that is it. I've had enough. I'm stopping. And thank God that I did. I've not relapsed once on alcohol at all.
So can I ask what you did at that point? Like, how did you just decide you were going to stop and you stopped? Or did you put things into place?
I'd kind of had an attempt earlier on in that year to stop, and I think I managed like a month.
Okay, so you knew you could do it then?
Yeah. So I knew I could do it, but I knew that it would take a lot of balls. It would take a lot of bollocks to do it.
Yeah.
And I knew that I had to. And I think it's because I knew that I had to, I could. Like, there was no half-assed efforts. Like, with me, I'm all or nothing. I'm either going to do it or I'm going to blow it all to pieces and fail miserably.
Yeah. So did you sort of at this point, did you pull away from normal things you were doing in your life? So, for example, you know, if a Friday night you was going out with your friends, did you stop doing that?
Mm-hmm.
You did,
I didn't really go out that much. No. I was more of a, because I've got really bad social anxiety. Okay. You wouldn't think it, but I do.
No, you're really confident.
I know. I know I look it, but honestly, inside I'm like shitting it.
You're right, you do really well.
Thank you. But like, I stopped going to pubs because pubs were kind of like my safe space.
Yeah.
Like, I needed that time away. So I kind of withdrew from that. And I just stopped. I stopped everything that would have led me to want a drink. So I kind of tackled my mental health. I started doing dialectical behaviour therapy on myself.
Wicked.
So that's my CPTSD. I started learning healthier kind of coping mechanisms to kind of keep the drink thoughts away. And I started just doing the things I loved again. So like singing, obviously getting more tattoos.
Yeah, you and me both.
No, but I just started looking after myself. And I know that's probably, it might not resonate with some people, but for me as a woman, going out in 2-day-old leggings and a dirty top, I just thought to myself, I can't be doing this anymore.
No.
I'm proud of my appearance. Like, yeah, let's just change.
So you never needed to use any sort. You didn't reach out to any groups like Narcotics Anonymous, Alcohol Anonymous. You didn't.
No.
You didn't need to go to rehab. No, you did this obviously with a great mindset and, you know, changing your ways. Can you just talk a little bit about what coping mechanisms you just talked about? You used some coping mechanisms through.
So,
yeah, go on.
Sorry.
No, you're all right. Go on. It's delayed a bit, isn't it?
It's so hard, like on call, like to know when someone's finished talking, isn't it?
No, you're all good.
So for me, it was the coping mechanisms were like singing. I know it sounds a bit bonkers.
It doesn't, and you know, this is why I ask you, because to other people, this might work. This will work for other people.
It will, hopefully.
Yeah, it will.
So for me, music, like listening to actually putting my headphones on, going for a walk. I know it's really cliche. Stupid walk for your silly mental health kind of mantra.
It's fucking not, because it's what I do every fucking day.
Yeah. So I went out more for walks. I listened to my music more. I'm trying to remember like more from that time because it is quite fuzzy.
Yeah.
And I just started prioritizing myself. So that's kind of like what I did. I stopped being codependent. I stopped kind of giving a shit. If people made a mess, then they had to deal with the consequences. I wasn't always rushing to go, here, let me help you.
Yeah.
Because I noticed with the alcohol, the relationship with alcohol and codependency with me, because of my trauma, it kind of enhanced it. So I had to undo all of that kind of crap as well, which was difficult. So going back to your original question, those were kind of the steps I took to really help me with the cravings. Like the walking actually was the most beneficial for me. It really did help.
Me too. Me too. I 100% agree with that. So can you talk a little bit about what am I trying to ask you? I've been trying to do notes and trying to pretend I wasn't. I'm trying to say I was looking at the screen. So can you talk a little bit about like your one thing that's quite important actually? Did you consult a doctor when you did you just stop dead one day, or did you go to a doctor?
I didn't go to the doctor at all.
And you are aware that, you know, suddenly stopping alcohol can actually it can take your life.
I was very aware of at the time, and I thought, okay, because I thought to myself, because I'm not like a daily drinker.
Yeah.
Like, because I'm not a litre of vodka a day kind of person, I should be okay.
Yeah.
And I should have probably gone to my doctor, because the sleepless nights were really lovely, you know? Really enjoyed that side effect. And the worsening anxiety and the kind of the overthinking into overdrive. So yeah, I would actually advise people to go to the doctors, because I should have done it.
100%. And just at this point, people, if you've got this far, can I just say that, you know, if you are drinking heavily, that I strongly recommend that you do consult a doctor, because it can be life-threatening if you just stop it dead. I did the same. I completely stopped it dead as well. And it wasn't until I did long, extensive training within a rehabilitation centre that I actually realised we actually there have got a doctor on site that if I tick so many boxes, and if they meet, you know, criteria, then they go see the doctor straight away, because they have to be weaned off. And it sounds fucking stupid, but if you're drinking that much alcohol, you've got to gradually cut it down. So just a bit of awareness for you guys there if you're going to think about stopping the alcohol. But please do, and please see a doctor. So the next thing I want to ask you is, so today you talk about, you know, you stopped going to your meeting places as such in pubs. You keep away from pubs. Something I do as well. I don't go in pubs. Do you avoid alcohol aisles in supermarkets?
I have to.
Me too. So, you know, and it works, doesn't it? because I think, I don't know if it's a law now as such, but they're always the furthest away, the alcohol aisles now. And I think something's been put into place for that. That's something I'm going to do research on, actually. But that's something I do as well. And I find in the little corner shops when I go in, and it's always quite close, and it's always behind. And that gives me a little bit of anxiety. So, would you go back in a pub today? Now you're X amount of time clean, would you go back into a pub and feel comfortable in a pub?
For me, yeah, because and there's one reason why, because I live my karaoke.
Okay.
So I've got like a positive association with karaoke.
Okay.
So like it's how my autism works. Like it's one of my favourite things in the world.
Okay.
And so it's my little safe space, my karaoke. Okay. I kind of disassociate the fact that it's in a pub. I go and get my cola, I go sit down and I go and enjoy my singing. And that for me, that's how I can do it. But I wouldn't ordinarily now like go and sit in a pub if I wasn't going to go for a meal or go for karaoke. Like I wouldn't just go and have it as a hang around place, if that makes sense.
It makes great sense, and presumably though that's come over time. I suppose you've gradually built your confidence.
I couldn't just do it off the bat.
No. Can you talk about like your withdrawals on like, because I know what they feel like, but I want you to explain to me so that everybody else can hear about what withdrawals from alcohol actually feels like.
So for me, because like I said, I wasn't for me, I would say I wasn't a massive like daily drinker. My withdrawals are mainly, I would get really hot for some reason. I would have sleepless nights. The nights were the worst. For me, it wasn't like as much physical. It was more mental.
Yeah, me too.
Like, it was just the anxious thoughts. It was the rumination got a lot worse. The rapid cycle ramped up massively to the point where I would just sit in the flat and just go, what the fuck? What is going on with my head? Like, the fuck? And I also had, at the time as well, I had really bad IBS. Really, really bad. And it ramped it up to the point where I couldn't leave the flat for months. Like, I was just constantly really poorly. And I do think, actually, that may have been a potential of that, but I don't know really.
Well, I mean, mine's gone now, and I'm clean, and I don't experience it anymore. I avoid certain foods, but I don't have it anymore, and the fucking alcohol's poison at the end of the day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go on.
I still do have it. It's just if I eat onions, and that's that, and like a lot of cheese, and then apart from that, I'm good. I'm good.
It's the same as my sister. She'll hate me saying this if she ever watches it. So, would you recommend? I mean, would you ever drink alcohol-free beer?
No, I can't.
Alcohol-free drinks. Alcohol-free drinks. Sorry, I'm saying beer because that's what I used to drink. Alcohol-free drinks.
That's a very tricky question.
I know,
because it's very tiered. Now, I occasionally have the no secco.
Yeah.
Very occasionally.
Yeah.
But I tend to have it if I have a bad craving.
Right.
So I use it as a tool for my recovery rather than a slide back into the depths of drinking a lot.
So that's quite interesting. I've never heard that before. In the groups that I once was a part of, I used to be part of the committee. There was a guy that went there. I'm obviously going to mention names, but the guy that went there, and he was I think he was 6 months clean, and he was an alcoholic. He actually ended up relapsing through alcohol-free beers. He drunk that many of them, because a lot of them are 0.05. He drunk that many of them. He was pissed. He then went on. He never even had a Coke problem. He picked up fucking Coke that night from alcohol-free beers. And from that moment, I did a bit of researching, and I was sponsored, and my sponsor said to me, Elliot, look at it this way, yeah? You're a cokehead. Would you sniff Coke if it didn't have the Coke in it? If I was just sniffing white powder for no reason. I said, would I fuck? He says, so what the fuck are you drinking alcohol-free beers for? And I stopped it.
Yeah.
And I remember not last summer, the summer before, I was still experimenting a bit, thinking I could have a couple of drinks here and there, and I was having alcohol-free beers, and I had 2 Guinnesses in summer last year, and I was fucking, not last year, the year before, and I was fucking pissed. And I don't know if it was a placebo or whatever. So my advice to people, you've explained your advice. That might work for some people. There's no right or wrong way with this alcohol.
I'd say actually, I do agree with you. I do think they're an unhealthy crutch for a vast majority of people. Yeah.
And I mean, I wasn't trying to discredit you, what you're saying there. I'm just trying to put my view. We're 2 different people, but that's my view on it. And I was once that person that used to, like, in recovery, just have alcohol-free beers to fit in. But actually, I don't even fucking miss that fucking shit, man. Do you know, like, I don't miss it. I know it'd be the death of me, so I keep away from it. So I'm just gonna. We've obviously had a little bit of a talk before, and you talked about a part in your life where you're in recovery, you've stopped all the alcohol, but you was bored or something. You was missing something in your life where you decided that you wanted to start socializing a different way. Am I right in saying that? So, do you want to explain to people what that was? Because obviously, I'm basically trying to tell your story there.
Okay. This is so embarrassing.
It's not because I can relate to this, and I've also got stories for this as well. So just go for it.
So basically, I had a very, very bad breakup. Very bad. You know, the ones where they shatter your world and you think your life, kind of implode around
I've had loads of them, man. Loads.
Yeah. So I was really reeling, and because it was the father of my son, and with all the trauma kind of attached to that, losing him felt like I was losing the last kind of bit of connection to my son.
Of course.
So my CPTSD drove me into dysregulation. I don't know if you understand CPTSD, but it does lead you to get really dysregulated.
What's the C part at the beginning? I know what PTSD is, but what's the C part?
It just means complex. So PTSD is normally down to one single trauma. The C meaning complex means multiple instances of trauma over time.
Okay, and obviously we know now why that was, because you've got a background of all the childhood and stuff like that.
And so what happened was, because obviously I didn't drink, I thought, well, I can't exactly go on a bender.
No.
Can't exactly go on the fuck men phase. I can't be asked to go on the I hate everybody phase. You know what I mean?
Should have gone on to Tinder, man. A quick rebound.
I just can't be asked. So instead, I chose the best possible option. I decided to go into a fucking casino.
Right.
Best thing I ever did. And I spent some time there. I was like, oh, great. They've got free soft drinks. Happy fucking days.
Yeah, they do.
Brilliant.
I wonder
I
fucking
don't have
why.
to drink. I know. I was like, great. Let's just sit at this roulette
They're not
table
really free. They're taking all your fucking money,
no,
man.
I know. Hindsight's a great thing.
Yeah, God.
But I just sat there because of my autism. I've got pattern recognition. So I was kind of like in my element. I was like, oh, okay, I'll do this. This is taking my mind off the shit I'm going through. And plus, there's other people that actually want to talk to me, so I don't feel so lonely. And it went from occasionally going there, like maybe once, twice, like with my ex at the time. I didn't really think much of it. Then when the breakup happened, I just started going every day.
Did you?
And I was like, yeah. And it got to the point where it was just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you're losing so much money. And then you win, like, really big. I won, like, 800 quid. And I put it all back in.
Yeah.
And the shame I felt from that wasn't enough to make me quit, was it? No. You would have thunk losing 800 quid would have been enough. But no, the embarrassment wasn't enough. So I decided to just carry on. And every time I felt an uncomfortable emotion pop up, to the casino I went. Every time I couldn't sleep at night, to the casino I popped off to. And it was just like it had its hooks in me like alcohol did. And that's when I realised I've got a very addictive personality.
Yeah.
And that's also like kind of when I realised as well that this isn't healthy. So it was only, I'm trying to think of the timeline. So we're 2025 now, aren't we?
We are, yeah.
It was in January, February this year when I got clean.
How did you get clean from the gambling in the same kind of way that you?
No. It was everything I tried with the alcohol, I tried with the gambling because I thought it was a one-size-fits-all solution. It wasn't. What really drove me away was I spent a month hungry because I didn't have enough money to feed myself. The constant ache in my stomach was enough of a reminder never to step foot in those places
I
again.
fucking bet.
Yeah. And I was just like, you know what? Sitting around watching everybody enjoy their meals is like a giant slap in the face and a fuck you. And I was like, okay, right, we're going to stop this. I am going to never go back in these places because A, I'm fucking hungry. And B, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like, what's wrong with you? Yeah, it was basically my Maslow's hierarchy of needs that stopped me. But what kept stopping me is then the embarrassment and shame crept in. And because I wasn't asking for money off my friends and my family, I was just like selling things. It was
Brutal.
typical addict behaviour.
I was quite lucky with, sorry to interrupt you, I was quite lucky with, I remember when I was 18 and I got paid my month's wage and I went up to William Hill, I lost a whole fucking lot. Didn't know how to tell my mum, did the same thing, sort of like sponged all fucking month. That next month, I went to a casino, went to Grosvenor Casino, it was around the corner from where I grew up. I remember going in the same wages again, I was really excited, was having beers. I got caught that night sniffing coke in the fucking toilet and got banned. And that was the best thing that ever fucking happened to me, I think. But every time I used to get on the coke, even of recent, like every time I'm drinking alcohol, I'm sniffing coke, I'm smoking, and I'm gambling. I'm doing all four addictions at once. And if that wasn't fucking enough, I'm ordering fucking vapes. You know, so I understand, and I was not fucking thinking, and everybody around me is telling me, I just on my fucking phone like this, just all the fucking time. When we're walking, I'm just pressing on slot. And it's happening everywhere. It's a fucking huge problem. Gambling's actually been linked to chronic mental health conditions now, and it's a serious thing. But the way we do recover from gambling, it's not often I support people with this kind of thing. But my advice is to use coping strategies in the same kind of way and replace the habits. But at all costs, you must avoid isolation. So I just thought I'd just share that back with you, so then people can.
That's really interesting because with my mental health, it makes me isolate, and that's also was part of the problem with every kind of bit of loneliness that gnawed at me. I just went to a casino, and I just now, for me, the ways I cope with it, I don't ever look at casino-related things. I don't ever. It's like with alcohol, I guess. I just take myself away from that kind of influence. I walk a lot. It's hard because for me, gambling was almost like alcohol. So it felt like losing a second love in a way, like it did with alcohol. Which is so sad to say, isn't it? But
it is.
Yeah. For me, like the coping mechanisms, eating healthier, fitness, looking after yourself, that works. And the singing, going back to karaoke, because my friends are my lifeline.
And so much self-love as well.
Yeah.
Loving yourself and understanding yourself and working on yourself, because
that's the hardest part, isn't it?
It is. And just facing yourself in the mirror, I'm sure today you can smile at yourself now. Obviously you've got a lot of sadness, through things that have happened, and it's about moving on with them. Even these it's not about holding on to the past. Unfortunately, we can't change it. It's about moving forward and bettering yourself as a person. And and you said you was nervous about this. You've come forward so so well. You really have, and you should be proud of yourself. So just to sort of like tie things up as such, I want to just ask you how your life feels today compared to your darkest days, compared to where you are today. Sort of put like a closing element on this podcast for people to understand how different your life is today for where it was, and maybe some advice and tips to the viewers of what to avoid, what to do, what you would do if you was to get your life all over again. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
So for me, I've actually really turned my life around. I've started a new job, which I love. So I educate, like as a lived experience, I educate the NHS on autism and neurodivergence. Wow. So I get to help people.
I can imagine you doing that job. I can.
Yeah, I love it. Like, it's one of my favourite things. I love my job. So that's kind of happened as a consequence of me being clear-headed. My life now, it's not all kind of like a bed of roses. Like, I still have days and months where I go into depression and where I just isolate from everybody I love. But now I know that I've got the skills to pull myself through it.
Yeah.
I know that I'm not going to just go and relapse. I know I'm not just going to go and fuck up all the progress I've made.
Yeah.
So my life now, I'd say I've got some really fantastic friends that I love and adore. I've got newfound friends that are wonderful, but like family to me. I've got just an amazing support network, and I think I need to harp on and say having a support network is so important.
Yeah, it is.
Without it, you are gonna fuck up, I think.
100%. That's why it's important to not isolate. It's important because when you isolate, you get stuck in your own thoughts. You know, and we are our own worst enemy, right or wrong.
Yeah, yeah, very true. And because I've stopped the drinking and gambling, like I feel like I can actually be authentic to myself now, which is why I kind of have like my stimming, which is my autism. I feel comfortable to like be myself. Well, I feel free. That's like the only way I can describe it is I feel free, which is that's how I can describe it, as free.
That's great. And have you got any sort of like closing things that you would recommend for anybody to do?
Don't go into a casino and don't start drinking.
Yeah, fucking good luck with that one. None of you are allowed. Fucking pack it in. No, guys, you know.
Pack it in before it becomes a problem. Joke aside.
This is the thing, though. Like, how do you know it's going to become a problem? You would have never known. Like, I would have never known. My family were fucking like. I was from a good family, like professionals. My mum's a nurse. My dad's a manager of 50, 60 banks of the Royal Bank of Scotland. They would have never thought I would be this fucking person. Do you know what I mean? I got so bad for me, I was fucking robbing off them to afford my habits, you know, and it spiraled out of control. But what's important is that we're present today, we're here today.
Yeah.
We're aware of our issues, we're facing our issues, and we're at ease with our life and living in our life beyond. I'm certainly living a life beyond my wildest dreams, you know, and it sounds like you've come on so fucking far, so you should be proud of yourself. Now, the only person that can defeat you is you, and you know that goes out to everybody, because if I can do it, if you can do it, anybody can do it. Anybody can change their lives, and you know we all go through difficult times. It's about facing them head on and dealing with them, not cowering away, not hiding away, not using substances to momentarily block these issues out.
And I'd also like to add on as well, what really helps me is my faith. So my faith helps me, like with the going to church, it helps. And on a serious note, like what actually I would say not to do is just to reach out for help whenever you can.
100%.
Because people will be there to catch you when you fall.
Are you a Christian?
I am indeed, yes.
Me too. I was christened, baptised as such. I was baptised last year, and through my in recovery, that all made sense to me and stuff like that. So yeah. Okay, Natasha. Well, I'm really grateful for you coming on today, and I will leave this open because sometimes I feel like, you know, there's been more questions people might ask, and leave comments below, and it might be that maybe in a few months you might want to do another one. People might want to pull forward. We can maybe get together and do another one. I'm so grateful for you coming forward and giving your time, because, you know, these videos help, let's hope, save thousands of lives. So, guys, if you're not already subscribed to this channel, please subscribe. Leave all your comments below. I'm going to leave some links for support through these things, and I'm so grateful for everybody for their support. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.